Everybody, it's Patrick back here with RevTalks with another episode. Today we're joined with Scott over at Advent One. How's it going today, Scott?
I'm doing blessed, Patrick. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you taking some time to be here on RevTalks today and talk a little bit about Advent One. Can you give us a little high-level overview about the actual company and what you guys are actually building to in the airline space, as you can tell?
Sure. So I appreciate the question. So Advent One is a division of Advent Jets. We have Advent Concierge, Advent Wellness. You pretty much name it, you think it, we have it. You want a private jet, you want a yacht, you need a villa, you need executive protection, you want access to tickets or VIP or off market, you want to golf at Augusta. You want off market real estate. You pretty much name it. Advent One has it all.
Cool. I like it. And what got you started in Advent One? How did this all come about?
Well, great question. Great question. So I kind of tell three pillars of my story, if you don't mind. I was in the mortgage business at a very high level for 20 plus years. So obviously I'm aging myself, but I always say three things of my pillar of my story of how I got started. I launched my first business in Advent Jets Advent in 2018. I always bring up three things of adversity. In 91, my best friend committed suicide. Back then, depending on how old the audience and how old everybody is, sometimes I grew up with no cell phones, so we didn't have social media. So I was 20 years old at that time, 35 years ago. So obviously you can probably figure out how old I am. Second, I grew up with no father. My dad abandoned me when I was little. So obviously communication, I'm a communication Nazi. I believe in communication, people by people. And so it taught me good and bad, how to communicate, how not to trust, who to run and this and that. But it also taught me a lot of growth. And the last thing is how I started my own business. And when I moved out to Arizona 14 years ago from the Midwest, unfortunately, Uber was just kind of getting going. I got two drunk drivings in a short period of time. Thank God I didn't hurt or kill anyone, but I had to sit 4 months in prison. I tell that story because when I got released July 7th, 2018, Advent One, Advent Jets was formed. My very first business. And here we are, 2000.
Very inspiring. First pillar definitely hit close to home. I'm 20 right now. A couple months ago, lost a close friend of mine on the
Sorry to
road
hear
on
that.
a bike down in San Antonio, Texas. So
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, and it's very, very, very interesting how, things change and that really, I mean, definitely shifted me. I can tell you that for sure. So I appreciate you, telling the audience about all that and everything. So in terms of Advent One, what was kind of the vision when you initially started? Was it just strictly airline or was it more security or what was kind of like the main goal when you started?
Sure. Basically, in 2018, 2019, I started with private aviation, private charter, buying planes, chartering. But basically, I took the hospitality. I learned the business from a couple other people. And I'm like, you know what? You're doing good, but I think I can do better. So I took the mentality, kind of like the abandonment. Anything you do or any business, bank, the more that you can control the client and more likely a good experience, they're not going to leave. So the more that you can control, the more you offer. So at a young age, I was always working with musicians, athletes because of friends, right? Trust. And so it just started with aviation. Then it just kind of, hey, went to cars, went to chauffeurs. People asked for gold, diamonds, Hermes, Prada. You want to ride a horse? It's amazing the things that people have reached out. And because everyone has that guy, I'm that guy, but I'm no different. But if you have that guy, maybe he doesn't have what I have. So how do we work together, right?
Absolutely. I can definitely see some people, especially who I grew up with around my age, who are sort of becoming that guy to where they always seem to have something that you need. Like, oh, I need this over here. I need it. Oh, I got you. I hook it up over here for you. What do you need over
Yep.
here? And it's always it's a very different way to do business, which I really like because one, it's extremely reliable and trustworthy. But
Yep.
two, it's like this, they never market, you never
Correct.
have to market. There's no going to market. There's no
Correct.
sales. It's just simply like this person has what I need. It's almost like I kind of already know it. Boom, we'll ask him, or he has some sort of way to give me access to something over here. Or he knows a guy, and it just everything kind of lines up.
Correct. You're totally spot on. Since 2018, 2019, I grew my business. I've never spent money on marketing or PR, but I've obviously done barter or trades and things like that. But it's relate people by people. Like I said, I'm old, but I'm also a young soul. And I work with some Gen Z wellness ladies that probably have 50,000 members. And they do different, instead of spring break parties, they do spring break yoga retreats and wellness. And so I'm involved in a lot of different projects and things because everybody spends their money or their time differently. And one thing you can't get back is time. You can always make money and spend it, but you can't get time back. And so I agree. I believe total hearted is people buy relationships.
Absolutely. And what kind of skill set do you think is behind the sort of, not necessarily just knowing people and hiring people you're connecting with, but what skill set do you think really kind of lies behind the reliability? Because I personally think a lot of it is a mix of like trauma, always having like things kind
Sure,
of lined up too, to where the person that people were always kind of not necessarily ask for things. You're very reliable.
yep,
You're somebody, probably at an early age, you probably relied on a decent amount by maybe some specific people in your life, and that sort
sure.
of crafted you into, different aspects of having this lined up, having this lined up. You're on your shit. People, can trust you and look after you. What do you think kind of plays into the role with that?
That's a great question, and I would say I've had everybody always has sales coaches, mentors, people. Obviously, it was kind of just being diverse, being open. And I always use this line, and I know probably some people don't like it, but you can't teach stupid. And I never went to college. I'm more of a street smart individual, and I don't mean that anyway. Unless you're going to be an attorney, a doctor, scientist, certain things, yes, you need to go to college. But if you're going to do sales, marketing, yeah, you might want to do business law and things like that. But you surround yourself with like-minded people and people that are better than you, even though you don't know everything. But a lot of entrepreneurs, they get in the way. They think they know everything and they're afraid to step back and release control. And so that's why I believe I'm successful and work with a lot of successful people out there. Because like I said, I don't care how old somebody is, what color you are, we're all the same. It's just how do you monetize relationships? And God gives us relationships to put together. We have to figure it out.
Absolutely. And what was kind of the transition going from coming out of actual, prison in 2018, I believe you mentioned?
Yep.
What was that transition like, maybe starting to kind of build those connections, maybe you already had a decent amount of them? How did you go about kind of monetizing? What was your first kind of plan of action when you sort of hit the world?
Great question. So I have all my paperwork and my release card all right here. So a little story about that. I would go into the library every day and read Entrepreneur Magazine and Wall Street Journal and write down executives, CEOs, founders of different companies and stuff. And so I had a game plan when I got out of prison July 7th, 2018. I didn't even know how to LLC a business. I didn't know all that. I didn't know Google business. So I had to learn all that. But I'll tell you what really successful for me was LinkedIn. So because what I did then is I went after LinkedIn, all these executives, and then I built the relationship through that. Not trying to sell because people buy people. You can have whatever you want, but people, especially if you work in sales. And so I kind of used LinkedIn as my kind of my scale, and it just kind of took off by that. Where now today I very seldom, yes, I go on LinkedIn, but not like I used to. I used to spend 3-4 hours a day on LinkedIn, but that's what I would tell any young entrepreneur starting out: build relationships with people or connections on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned too a little bit before the recording, you're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff over here in Austin, maybe with F1. Can you kind of talk about that briefly as well? It's a huge thing over here, if you feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah. So Advent, we were just in F1 in Miami. We're doing F1 in Vegas, F1 in Austin. I won't say the headliner, but we are putting together a big concert, probably teaming up with TikTok and going to bring. Obviously, they did Madonna, they did Bruno Mars. So obviously, we're working with some race groups down there to have some cool off-site events and things like that. And I was just in Vegas working with World Series of Poker, doing some things. So I'm always love to do certain things, but I'm also private because sometimes I don't like to be around a lot of people. But I've never been to Austin, believe it or not, and I'm excited to come because I know what is it, South of Southwest, I believe, the music festival. And I love music and I've heard nothing but great things about Austin. So I'm excited to get into the F1 and just meet people, good, like-minded people in the Austin area.
Absolutely. You're going to love Austin when you come down here. Promise you that. It will not let you down for sure. We had somebody actually here on RevTalks a couple weeks ago that was in Las Vegas at the poker, it was the World Championships, I believe.
Yep.
He was
I was
actually
just there a couple
participating.
weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah, he was actually participating in them. He told me, he said, I didn't even know I made it this far, to be honest, but we can't schedule anything else because I could potentially go, go the distance, things like that. So I was like, wow. And I looked it up, noticed it was going on. I was like, damn, this is pretty legit.
Yeah, I was actually there's a group called Titan Poker. So the World Cup is going on right now. So if you take soccer, the Premier League, that's what Triton Poker is, of the poker group. And so I was with a lot of the people from Austria, Germany, Thailand, Asia, all over the world with these high net worth individuals. We had a private event at the Poodle Room in Las Vegas, and we had Louis the 13th, hand rolled cigars. And so I enjoy that kind of stuff where it's not just everybody can come, but once you get to know me, you become family. And so I invite a lot of my people that can come and do those kind of events. So
Absolutely. Super cool. And kind of like on your free time,
Mhm.
what do you really like to do? What do you really enjoy? I know a lot of people like to drive faster cars, like to do a lot of exploratory things with adventures, hiking. What's kind of your go-to on your off time? I'm sure there's a lot of creative thinking that is going on throughout that time period. what's your kind of go-to?
Sure. And that's a great question. So my go-to, to believe it or not, sometimes is at night, turn my phone off and relax and get a good night's sleep. I believe sweet sleep and obviously how you handle stress. But the reason why I got into this, I love music, I love to travel, and I love sports. So I like doing those different events. But to be honest, being a little bit older, I enjoy just getting away from people and kind of hanging out at the pool and just chill and collect my thoughts and get a little bit of sun. It depends on who I'm with or what my mood is. So I try to adapt. But like I said, I'm one of those people too that sometimes I don't like to be around a lot of people with all the chaotic going on, and so I just kind of like to collect my thoughts and be by myself sometimes.
Absolutely. And I know you like planes and aviation. Are you a big car guy as well?
I am. I love cars. I'm a big car guy, and a lot of the relationships. I mean, I sit here and say, "God, I want 50 car collection," but I don't think I could. But yes, I'm a big car guy. Yes.
Nice. So what is your favorite American brand for cars? What's your favorite top one?
That's a great question. I'll go with the Corvette just because my friend just bought the new Vet and it's amazing for American, obviously. But I like McLaren, Ferrari, Lambo, Bugatti, obviously. So I have access to a lot of those cars. Some of my contacts or relationships sell hangars where the planes sit and they're full of cars like Miami, Scottsdale, LA. I'm just an adrenaline junkie. I won't bungee jump, but I'll skydive. But I love taking a car around the racetrack. If I can get it to 150, 180 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour, I'm all for that.
Was that did your friend buy the CR1X, I believe?
I think it's a Z06, I believe. I don't know the exact model. It could be, but it's a limited. But
Yeah, it was a very, just came out, like top trim, super cool.
yeah, I believe his is white with blue and black leather. Like it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I just literally a couple months ago, just bought my first starter Corvette, I bought the Stingray. So that was
nice.
like my first kind of big boy purchase. And I was
Good
like,
for
this
you.
will get me
What
feeling
year?
good, get me in the right mindset and stuff. And then, maybe later on down the line, as I progress with entrepreneurship, we'll look at jets too. That being said, at what point in people's sort of like business career do you see they really excel and they're at the point where they can actually start chartering and actually start getting kind of the jet scene? What do you typically see and what kind of line of business are these people in as well?
it used to be before COVID, it used to be kind of everyone thought, oh, I had to make a certain amount or billionaires or multimillionaires. And to be honest, there's a company out of the West Coast and they fly into Dallas every once in a while called JSX. They're more on the West Coast, but it's semi-private. You're flying with 30 other people. But it depends on what you put on price and value and return on investment, because sometimes you can go a 2 hour flight with a couple of guys or a women's trip or something. It might only cost 20, 30,000. It might sound a lot, but you might be getting VIP access to a football game or a concert. So when you put $30,000 and you break it up for eight to 10 people or something like that, it kind of, so I don't really sit there and rule out because people spend their money different ways. I have some clients that they're snowbirds, so they only fly twice a year, but it's because they want their pets. Or I just had a client that just flew with their pets. And we're actually launching a new technology. It's going to be kind of like Uber for aviation. It's going to be a subscription model where anyone can go in this private community. You're going to get bio-checked and background checked. There's about 4,000 members right now, and you're going to be able to look and communicate. So say, Patrick, you're coming to Austin to say Scottsdale and you're like, well, I don't want to go commercial, but somebody's got an empty plane, one seat on an empty plane for $1,500. I'll snag that and go. So that's kind of the new community and the new tech, because if you think about it, about 50 million people fly first class. And if you can fly for $1,500 to $5,000, I think that's more in the people's budget than sitting there saying, hey, I got to pay 30 or 50,000 for a whole plane. Yes, it can get expensive, but there's ways of sharing that. And now, especially, you get a lot of the real estate investors, they're coming into the charter business because they want to buy planes because of the supply and demand. So they're buying planes, chartering them, offsetting their cost and using the depreciation.
Absolutely. It makes
Hopefully
total
that
sense.
answers your question. I
Yeah.
know that was a kind of a long answer.
No, I get it. They gave me a lot of background, understand the game a little bit better and everything like that. And I think finally too, for the audience as well, what piece of advice would you give somebody that is maybe starting a chapter of their life? Obviously you jumped out of prison, hit straight to LinkedIn, got to it. I know you had probably a lot of ideas while you're in prison as well, thinking how I can get out, how can I do this, how can I make myself, how can I build myself up? what kind of piece of advice would you give somebody who's hopping entrepreneurship in today's day and age, who just wants to get out there, wants to hustle, wants to get it? What would you tell them?
I always say, don't be afraid of rejection. Don't be afraid of no. A lot of times people don't start their own business because of why? They're afraid of fear, afraid of failing. But if you surround yourself with some good people, or even one or two mentors or good people that are willing to take you under their wing or kind of coach you or teach you or this or that, I think that's the biggest thing. And if you have integrity, motivation, trust, respect, honesty, and communication, and you have faith, I think you're going to be okay.
It was amazing talking to you today, Scott, on Rev Talks about Advent and everything like that. Thank you once again for being here. Can you just go ahead and give the audience your LinkedIn and then the company website too, so they can check you out as well?
Sure. It's adventjets.com, and then Scott J. Buss for LinkedIn, or Advent Jets for LinkedIn Business.
Really, well, I appreciate your time here today, Scott, and I hope you have the rest of your afternoon as well.
I appreciate you, Patrick. Have a blessed day.